Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Yusuf and I'm just an average guy who lives an average life, and sometimes I like to make videos inspired by never-ending life lessons in the hope that some of you out there find this content beneficial. Alright, so today we're circling back on the topic of careers, and I'm going to be revealing these secrets to help you get that job that you want so bad. And the difference between what I'm about to tell you now and things that you've probably already heard before is that I completely cut out the BS, alright? So no preservatives, no added nasties, none of that on my channel. It's only the things that you want and need to hear. Alright, so before we dive into the tips, I wanted to give you a brief career history. So I started working in the summer of 2014-15, which was the penultimate year of university for me. So the second last year of uni. And my first real job was at EY, or Ernst & Young, where I was an intern for the summer for a 3-month period. I'll save the boring details for another video, but all you need to know is that I was in the consulting team and this was my first real consulting/corporate job. After I completed my internship, I went back to finish my last year of university. And once that was done, I rejoined EY in 2016 as a graduate or a full-time consultant. I continued working at EY for another 18 months before I moved to PwC in a similar role, but now as a senior associate. This brings us to July 2017. After 3 eventful years with PwC, which involved some breaks, some ventures, and a whole host of different things, I made the decision to move to Deloitte only now as a manager. And I know what you're wondering, when am I going to move to KPMG? I don't know, 2-3 years? We'll just have to wait and see. Alright, that's enough of a history lesson for this video. Let's dive straight into the tips to help you land that job. So the very first tip, and if you're going to take one thing away from this video, let it be this. If you want to land that job, the very first thing that you need to do is to remove personal obstacles. Let me break down what I mean by this, because I know some of you will be sitting there confused. I'm sure you've heard this piece of advice before where someone tells you to control what you can control and leave the rest to chance, or leave the rest to the universe. This same concept applies to what I'm about to tell you. Step number 1, do not be disillusioned by the outside-in view of the role you're applying for. You see, it's very easy to fall into this trap, especially when you're applying for a role to the Big Four. The brands, the titles, the nice offices, at the end of the day, what you need to remember is, a job is just a job. And you can actually trust me when I say this, it isn't nearly as flashy when you're on the inside. The real problem with having these misconceptions is, you will psych yourself up, you will apply unnecessary amounts of pressure onto yourself, and this unnecessary pressure may well be the reason why you don't end up getting that job. So you need to remember, guys, before you hit that apply button, do not set any wild expectations for the job, and this will boost your chances of landing the job. Alright, that's one. And now the second tip that also relates to removing personal obstacles is understanding your value proposition inside out. And what do I mean by this again? Well, it's knowing what it is that you are good at, knowing which skills you want to focus on and hone as part of your day-to-day work. Once you know these things, line it up against the job description of the role you're thinking of applying to. It's really easy to do this because most roles have a what you'll do section which describe the day-to-day activities that you'll be completing if you are successful in getting the job. The key to this is to not be disheartened if you find that the role does not align with your actual requirements. Trust me when I say you are dodging a bullet by not applying for this role, and an even bigger bullet by not landing this role, because the reality is this job just isn't for you. And you are going to be so much happier when you do find that right position. Okay, so by doing those two things, we've removed the personal obstacles, and in the process, we've made sure that if we don't actually land the job, it isn't because we've tripped over our own feet. So what's next? Another crucial tip is to leverage your personal network. The door into any organization is the hardest to break through when you're doing it without any help. Being referred for a role increases your chances exponentially, and I've personally seen the advantages that it can give you on multiple occasions. It's an almost guaranteed pass through the initial HR screening, which is where the majority of applications actually fall through. The problem is people tend to shy away from asking people in their network for a referral, or even asking for some pointers to take into the application process. My one piece of advice here is to never think twice about it. People are generally more than happy to help because the referral process isn't really cumbersome. And to make things even sweeter, companies usually offer a one-time cash bonus if the person that you refer actually ends up landing the job, so it's a win-win situation. I'm really spoiling you guys with these tips today, and the only thing I ask of you in return, if you're finding any of this content useful, be sure to hit that red subscribe button down below and help me grow the channel. Okay, on to the next tip. You need to focus on what makes you, you. Yes, you heard me correct. At the end of the day, it's hard to compete with other candidates in the areas of intellect and overall commitment to the role. And directly on the flip side, it's hard for employers to differentiate between candidates when they're considering these factors alone. This is why it is of paramount importance that you showcase your unique abilities and showcase your strengths. Show the interviewers your human side, your ability to build rapport during the conversation. EQ, or emotional intelligence, is a key differentiator for employers, and during an interview is your best opportunity to absolutely flaunt everything you've got. You're probably thinking, oh my god, there are so many things I need to get right, surely I'm going to screw up one of these things, and there goes the chances of getting this job. Stress less, only 2 tips to go, we're almost at the end, and trust me when I say, it's not so hard to follow through on the tips that I'm giving you today. Alright, the second last tip is to have the right amount of confidence. Without coming across as an absolute douche, it's so important that you show confidence in your approach and your abilities. Employees need to feel a sense of comfort when they talk to you, because at the end of all of it, the decision they need to make is whether they can actually trust you to get the job done. And if you don't trust yourself or have the confidence in your own abilities, then you're going to have a very hard time convincing the employer that you are worth taking a gamble on. But do keep in mind, guys, arrogance, overconfidence, general cockiness are all things that will turn off the employer completely. So with this one, it's all about striking the right balance. Alright, time for the final tip, and I don't want you guys to discount the importance of this one just because I've left it to the end. You need to enjoy the process and you need to make sure that you don't get caught up in the outcome. Let me tell you why. It's so easy to get caught up in the negative aspects of this process, especially if you're not having much luck converting your applications into actual jobs. But if you focus your energy here, you'll be ignoring the constructive feedback that you should be getting with every application, and this is feedback that should be weaved into future applications, or you'll find yourself in a vicious cycle of applications, rejections, applications, rejections. It just won't end until you make sure that each application that you put in is better than the one before it. With the tips that I've just given you, you are now armed to go and land whatever job it is that your heart desires. Just remember that this is a process that you can actually get good at. It is possible to master the art of interviews, and it is possible to apply for a job and be fairly confident in your own chances. The key is to be receptive and make sure you pick up on the things that work for you and the things that don't, so you can actually tweak your approach, and once you find that sweet spot, let me tell you, you'll be fending off job offers like Alright guys, I'm going to wrap up the video here. If you did enjoy it, be sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, share it with anyone who's struggling to land a job, who's struggling with interviews. With any luck, this video will be the nudge that they so desperately needed to land the job of their dreams. Thanks for tuning in today guys, and I'll see you in the next one.